At
She has trouble
6:34.
with me. Oh, who brought this?
Are there any additions to the agenda as the first item of business?
You have everything on here like, yeah, the transitional board.
Yeah, I think we can put that discussion under there.
Yeah, you got it here.
Yeah, we have many executive sessions tonight, I believe.
Oh, we do?
So,
Okay.
yeah, so keep that in mind when you feel like we need to talk about something.
And we
for really-
have many policy reviews
Yes,
that we've been putting on. Okay.
yes. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of March 26th.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Jody. Thank you, Michael. Any discussion? I have just one comment. Richard, I think it's Cogliano and
Yes,
it's
Rich.
Cagliano in the first sentence. It's an O, right?
I think it's Cogliano, isn't
I
it?
thought it was an A.
Oh, you thought it was an A?
Did somebody look?
Is that Haley's grandfather?
Huh?
Cogliano.
Oh, then, oh.
Yep.
Okay. So that's the only change that I saw. Any further discussions on the minutes of March 26th? All those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
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 Nays and abstentions? The ayes have it. Communications. Anybody else pertaining to board business?
Pertaining to board business. Well, in a way, I got a disturbing email with an article with the Times Argus about who was going to be negotiating teachers' contracts, etc. Have you seen that?
Yes, that is the work of your legislators that have moved teacher healthcare negotiations to the state level. We actually have a...
But isn't the
I can give you an
VSBA,
update if you want.
why is the VSBA doing it? That's what I don't understand. I know you're on it. Was it voted to do that?
That was before my tenure.
Because I don't think they have any business negotiating teachers' contracts, but anyway, that was what I heard.
As a board of the directors of the VSBA, I can only speak in the support of the work of the organization, Jody. Perhaps we could recognize one of our visitors if she wants to, from the union side, who might be able to.
I only have a little bit of information unless I find my email and open it from yesterday, but at the regional assembly, I think it's regional assembly, whatever it's called, the RA, whatever that stands for, of the union, which is the yearly town meeting kind of, on Saturday, the teachers committee reported and said that the first meeting had happened on Friday and that it was, of last week, and that it was a bit challenging, that they don't have ground rules yet because they can't come to an agreement about alternates being in the room, and there were some sort of tentative first numbers presented, but that's not for public knowledge yet. It's just for party knowledge, so I don't feel like I can
Surely.
say anything.
Surely.
With the big old camera.
Yeah, I believe I got a couple emails from my VSBA work that people were a little upset at the sound of the Times Argus article, but I'm not sure exactly what transpired,
Yeah, I haven't
Sometimes
read the
papers get it
article.
wrong, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't speak to the article, I haven't read it.
I was disturbed because it just seems to be trying to get the teachers further and further away from the school and the school board and the local bit, and get it up there and,
And it mentioned healthcare cuts
Yeah.
and higher expenses, especially for the
the
lower
lower
paid.
paid people.
They would get higher, it would price them out of it. There was a concern that pricing out probably the paras and the other lower.
And different places in the state, paras, I think that the para health insurance, it varies much more across the state than the certified staff. Health insurance varies across the state. From what I heard the other day, it sounds like some paras in some parts of the state have very little health insurance coverage compared to what like our district has for paras. So as a negotiating point, that's one of the biggest disparity, It's interesting to think about what could be lost that has been worked for in this
Yeah.
district, for example, by
Yes.
going statewide.
Doesn't sound good to me.
Yes, it's something when one should ponder, because Dan French released his thinking exercise of making everything statewide.
Right.
So it sort of Makes you wonder how that's all gonna work out for everyone. I'm sure it'll be excellent.
No.
Any other communications? I sent the views article and I sent everybody a copy of that. Everybody got that? That was like right after our last meeting. I sent out the thank yous as discussed. I contacted Rich Cogliano. I have not heard back, but I blew it and didn't hit send right off, so I found it in my drafts the other day. I sent around the Campaign for Vermont article, which I thought was interesting, that I included in your packet, because I sent that attached also with an forward from Lyle from the VSBA about new board member training. That we just went through reorganization. But the Campaign for Vermont lobbying very hard to advocating for the year delay. So I thought that was.
Well, so is French and the Principals Association and the Superintendent's Association against it.
Yep. Yep. And that is it for communications that I have. Oh, I have another communication that I will send around later in executive session. That's it. Anybody else? Fabulous. Recognizing groups and individual visitors. Hello. We have Miss Lily DePino, our star of the day. Ms. Lily DePino, our star of the day, is going to be presenting shortly. Were you here on any other official business, or was this
Nope,
your
just
only agenda item?
this is my only agenda item.
Ms. Stoner.
Hi.
Fabulous Molly Stoner.
Just here partially to see Lily's presentation, because I want to see it. And learn more about all the Dropbox too. But and I guess my intuition told me there might be a union question tonight. I don't know.
Oh, the one that we just had?
Yes. Sorry, a little tired tonight.
Well, it's nice to have two teachers here, so welcome.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
And we're down to the warrants. Look, we're almost halfway through, people. We're doing great. I would entertain a motion to approve the warrants dated 4/5/2019 in the amount of $139,854.25.
I'll move, but I have questions.
Did you second, Sue?
Yes, I did.
Thank you, Sue.
My questions?
Your questions, go for it.
What, is this the Alliance Mechanical, the heating system?
Yes.
Is $12,000, almost $13,000. Is that just part of what we pay, or is that a year of what we pay? What is that?
That is a preventative maintenance, which was about $6,000, which is an annual, and other back bills that haven't been paid yet this year.
So this isn't a continual thing, this is just catch up.
Just catch up.
Thank you. The other one that I have been kind of bothered with, and I know that it's been kind of an issue, is the night cleaning. And I'm just wondering, we need to have a conversation, I think, about whether it's cheaper to have somebody, a night janitor, or to go with Miss Stellar or whatever. And I'd like to put that on our future agenda, please.
Happy to do. What is this? When are we contracted with them until?
Until June 30th.
June 30th?
Okay.
That's it for me there.
So next week is pretty jam-packed, so maybe early May, would that work?
Well, yeah, because we're not gonna probably, well, yeah, we should, because we want to change it. We're gonna have to change it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
But next, we've got the pre-K forum.
Yeah, I know.
It's gonna be a long night, so, okay.
Maybe we need 4 meetings a month.
Okay, moving right along. So, as part of a discussion the board has had for a long time of really understanding and giving the teachers a chance to show off all that they do and how gifted and talented our teacher crew is, we asked Miss Lily to come and present her early math interventions and her Dreambox math program.
Yeah, and I do have a slideshow that I'm gonna.
We can all move.
Yeah, we can
Okay,
move.
all right.
Is that where we should be?
Yes, come on
Okay.
down.
Come on down, we'll come on down.
All right, let me just get this going and aimed in the right direction here.
I don't want to sit right next to the microphone.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Oh, you are gonna right next to the speaker, but that's all right, we can turn that down.
And we should welcome our new cameraman too.
Welcome, BCTV, the other visitor, I'm sorry.
That's up close
Thank
and
you for
personal.
being here.
Um, there it is, way up on the ceiling.
No, we didn't vote to approve the warrants.
Why don't you do
Oh.
that while I set up?
All those in favor of approving the warrants dated 4/5/19 in the amount of $139,854.25, please signify by saying aye. Jody.
It always helps not to hurt the board members.
Yeah, I
when you have to do a
know.
presentation.
Sorry about that. I had it all set up at the other end.
I know you did, because that's where I told you we'd go.
And those
No,
are
sorry,
roots.
Dewey, I'm gonna have to travel with me. I'm
So
just
the-
gonna unplug it.
Lily, would this be a good good time to ask about ceiling-mounted LCD projectors?
Some projectors on the ceiling would be really helpful. Okay. All right. We're gonna work with this here.
I'd like to put this.
I think I can. Let me just make sure.
I could be your Vanna White.
My Vanna White. Yeah.
She's good at that.
Oh well, that might be a little too far away.
Just move right into your
Okay.
window.
No,
Okay.
That's all right.
I like the dog.
Oh yes, that's my dog Grum. He features.
Look at the feet.
I know, right?
Yeah, he's a big boy. Okay. All right. There we go. Good thing Paul Smith is here. He hates it when things are not here.
Yeah.
Hates when things are crooked. All right. Here we go.
You want these lights on? That'd be awesome.
I think if it's better for you, that's fine. Otherwise, we can
It's fine.
leave them on. Okay. Oops. All right. Oops. We don't need Bernie. Okay. All right. So. Here. Why won't you present?
If we just looked at the screen.
Do it on the
Oh,
whiteboard.
Why are we offline? Well, that's going to be really problematic.
You know, we could go through committee reports and let you get organized. Would that make sense, Lily?
We
It
might be
looks like
okay
it's
now.
on.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got the bars.
I think you're back.
Yeah.
No.
No. Maybe. Oh, no, here we
No,
go.
you're on.
There we go. Okay. So, like Kristina said, I wanted to come and share some of the things that we've been doing around math practice. And so that being math interventions, but also opportunities for math enrichment for students as well. So, so a lot of what I'm going to talk about today sort of covers a wide spectrum of kids. Hopefully the full spectrum of all of our learners, because that's what we're focusing on with math practice. So I wanted to sort of rethink a few things in terms of my job as academic support and how could I be in more places at any given time and this school year. And I wanted to sort of rethink how we go about giving students opportunities for practice this year. And so I've been doing a ton of reading. As some of you may know, I'm in a grad program, a math grad program. And I'm also participating in the All Learners Network through the state of Vermont. And so through that work, I've had just tons of ideas. And I really wanted to think about what were some small but impactful changes that we could make in classrooms to support all learners. And I really wanted to do that in a way so that my colleagues would feel like this. Yes, we want to do that, and not, Lily, we have so much on our plates already. So so I wanted to make sure that it was supportive of my teachers as well as my students that I'm working with. And just to give you a little perspective, this is really, you can't read anything on there, but I brought the actual copy if you want to see it. But this is one math researcher's interpretation of the trajectory by which students learn additive reasoning. So early counting skills all the way up to being able to add and subtract numbers, any number. And so as you can see, it's not linear. It's not step by step. It's kind of a mess. Other people have tried to take that and make it be a bit more linear, and I also have this document here as well. This is from a Vermont organization called OGAP, and they will tell you that it looks linear, but a child can be in any place on this trajectory at any time, depending upon a given problem, a given day, a given set of numbers. So learning math is it's messy. And that's okay. We like that. But messy is fine, because kids are constantly taking in new information, consolidating that information, and using it differently. And they're learning new vocabulary, they're learning new skills, they're learning new strategies all the time. And the idea is that no one kiddo is going to take one route to get to the end. They're all going to take a route that's indicative of how they learn best. And our job is to provide them with lots of opportunities to find their way. As I said, I'm in the Vermont Mathematics Initiative program through UVM for this year anyway. It's changing. And so I've been reading a ton of books. And this book is John Hattie's work. It's all meta-analysis of research around best practices for teaching mathematics. And he has written, and he and his cohort have written books for literacy, for, I think there's one out for science now, there might even be one out for social studies, I'm not sure. But in the back of that book, and I do have it if you want to see it, there's a list of 100+ things that teachers and families and students do. And they're all, so he's taken all of this research and he's distilled it down into an effect size. And these are just some of the things from that list. This is their rank on the list and their effect size. And anything approaching 1 is a large effect. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's always a positive effect, but these happen to be positive effects. So response to intervention, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Classroom discussion, we're doing a lot of talking about how we know and what our strategies are, and how my strategy is similar to your strategy or totally different. And I don't mean me, the teacher, I mean the students to each other. They're getting feedback from me, they're getting feedback from the different games that we're playing. They're having lots of different kind of practice, so it's not necessarily just happening during math time, this math practice. They're thinking about their thinking, those metacognitive strategies, they're verbalizing, and most importantly, we're not grouping kids into, bluebirds and buzzards based on their math ability. So no pigeons. So this book is really resonated with me, and I keep going back to it all the time, trying to figure out, okay, what does he say that's best practice about this particular strategy? And then the other book of the many books that I've read is Jo Boaler's work. If you haven't read anything by Jo Boaler, I highly recommend it. She's very saucy. She's British. She's really fun. But most importantly, she talks about this idea of a growth mindset and this idea of low floor, high ceiling tasks, so that whatever we're presenting to students, everybody can enter, everybody can participate, but then there's so much room for differentiated discussion, and whether we're all talking about fractions. Today I was working with Molly's class and we were talking about just a very simple concept of a unit fraction, and it just was really interesting how the conversation exploded with kids who were talking about things up here and other kids who were still just making sense of what a unit was, and everybody was engaged and participating. So low floor, high ceiling tasks. And then she also has, a ton of research as well about that everybody can learn math. There isn't necessarily like math people and non-math people. Some of us identify that one way or another, but her research suggests that actually everyone can learn high levels of math. And let me just tell you, that is true in my case, because I'm doing things I never thought I would be able to do at BMI. All right, let's see. So when we're thinking about response to intervention, the first place we start is assessment. And what do we know about our students and what do they need to know? So this is a sample of just a profile of this happens to be kindergarten in January of an assessment we use with them called the primary number and operation assessment. We use that in kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. And it gives us really detailed information about how kids work forwards and backwards in the number system, what kind of sense they're making with groupings, being able to put numbers together and even take them apart, what's their estimation and magnitude. Some of that's a little bit about the age that they're at, and some of that's about practice and skill. So one of the things that we learned from this is that we needed to have some more opportunities for practice with estimation across the board, K to 2. And so this is what it looks like. This is what an assessment profile might look like. And you can see that this one's been sorted by finger patterns, and we were looking at, okay, we need to have some real intervention here with these students. These kiddos right here sort of fall into a practice group, and these kiddos right here might need something a little bit more. They might need a little bit enrichment. So if this middle group is really working on combinations to 5, these guys might be working on combinations to 10. And then how are those two connected maybe? And then this group here, they're also working on combinations of 5, but we might be working more with having a different model available for them, or using a different set of cards. So everybody's working on achieving the same learning outcome, but they're all getting what they need when they need it. And we do the same. We do different assessments with 2nd through 8th grade. We give them a concepts assessment and a computation assessment, and we get a profile of the class that looks something like this. And that's a pretty typical profile. You've got a group of kids that are right on grade level and they're just humming along. We've got a group of kids in the middle who probably have some strengths but have some deficits as well. And then again, we've got some kiddos that need some more support. It might be, instead of working with 5 different models, it might be just one targeted kind of model. They need to make sense of that model and work with that model. Maybe they need some more support around place value. Often that's the mantra in 3rd and 4th grade, is they're really missing some place value concepts, and so we go back and try to fill in those gaps. So we get that information and we use that to then decide, okay, how are we gonna meet their needs? So those needs are met in the classroom, and then in kindergarten, 1st grade, and 2nd grade, there's another time in the day when we're doing math, and we're using math menus. So these are just some samples of what those math menus look like. And so menu time is available to everybody. Games are not a reward. Everybody has access to them. And these games are all designed to target the needs of the group. They're also games that are low floor, high ceiling. So they can be, anybody can play these games. And there's lots of rich opportunities for differentiation in the games. And the other thing that's really important about math menus that I found just incredible to watch this year is they're self-selected. The children, it's their choice what they choose to play. Sometimes sometimes with the 2nd graders, I'll say, try everything at least once. And then if there's something you really like, you can play that game a few more times. With the 1st graders, that hasn't really been an issue. They kind of do 2 or 3 things in a math menu period, and they're getting a ton of practice. One of the things that I came across is in my reading is that we do a lot of teaching, and we give kids a lot of opportunity to try something that we've taught them, conceptual development, but sometimes the opportunity for practice isn't always there. Our days are really, really busy. So so in kindergarten, first and second grade, we carved out some time. And in first grade, it happens to be 45 minutes, 4 days a week. And in second grade, it's sort of 20 minutes here, 40 minutes here, 20 minutes here. And we found these little pockets of time where kids could have some choice, and then they could practice. And in Molly's class, when her kids come down, they come to me at 2 o'clock.
Small group, yeah.
Small group at 2 o'clock. And they're a little tired. I don't blame them. They've been working real hard all day. And so their menu is a little bit different, but it's still self-selected choice. So their menu looks like this. I know you can't read that. I do have one here if you want to see it. But there are different problem-solving tasks up here. And they're they're a little open-ended, these problem-solving tasks. Sometimes there's one finite answer, and sometimes there's lots of different possible answers. So there's lots of opportunities for conversation. And then they also have games that they're working with, that they're practicing skill with. So when they come at 2 o'clock, they have, there's choice about what they can do, and they're fully engaged. And I know when it's time to change a menu. When it's time to switch up a menu is when we start to see little behavior issues start to percolate to the surface. And I'm like, okay, we're ready for something new. But I have to say that really hasn't been an issue this second half of the year. That was only in the beginning of the year. Now that when first grade and second grade in particular, when it comes time for menu, they are just psyched and ready. And then the other piece that we added in, this is that discourse, was that I've been doing with kindergarten, first and second grade, and third grade, and a little bit with Molly's class, but not sort of formally number talks, but we definitely talk about numbers all the time, are these choral counting activities and number talks. And so this is a little kindergartner, and she's explaining her thinking on a rec and rec. And so we have lots of models that we use to show what we're thinking, or help us put words to our thinking. Because, kids, when you ask them, well, how do you know? They say, because my brain told me. Okay, well, what did your brain tell you? 10 frames are something that we use a lot. That's a really friendly model for kids. And oftentimes, if kids are struggling, we go back to this one because it's super concrete and super predictable. And later on, we get into sort of more complex number talks where we're taking numbers apart and talking about how we put them together. It's all mental computation. And then we do these choral counting experiences. This happens to be a first grade choral counting. This is hanging up in my room if you want to see it. And first graders are noticing patterns as you go down in the rows, as you go across the rows, and even today some second graders, we did one counting by twos. We're noticing patterns as you go diagonally across the rows. And why is it that when you go diagonally, you're adding 12 each time? Well, what's happening? And they even, as we were talking at the very end, one of them said, well, when we go up the rows, we're subtracting 10 each time. And what will happen when we get to the top row? And I said, well, I don't know. What will happen when you get to the top row? And we had a really great conversation about all those numbers that are on the other side of the zero, which, they don't get to talk about very much, but they're really curious about. Okay.
I think I need to go back to school. It's a whole new ballgame. This piece is about bringing autonomy to the students, bringing an opportunity for them to be the person who's talking about the math, so they're not being the person who's just listening about the math. Oftentimes, if a number talk is going really well, I'm just writing. I'm not saying very much. And same with those choral counts. Sometimes I have to say, wait, we can't all talk at the same time, because they get so excited. There's so much opportunity for fun and joy in math, and math gets a bad rap. And I really blew a fourth grader's bubble the other day when he said, I'm going to talk about Dreambox in a second. I love Dreambox because there's hardly any math in it. And I was like, wait, what? And I think that was just really, for him, math isn't fun, and this is fun. And so I'll tell you about Dreambox.
Can I tell you what that same child said at the end of school today to me? Miss Oda, do you know what MAP stands for? Because we're studying acronyms.
Yeah.
Mental abuse to humans. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, culturally, we're not very good about
Yeah,
talking about math.
exactly.
You know, like if you watch a TV program, people are perfectly content saying, "Oh, I don't do math," but no one would really. I don't think many people would be comfortable admitting they don't read. So, yeah, we got to do better. All right. So the other thing that I really wanted to do is. Sometimes we just that little piece of making small changes, not like big, huge, brand new math curriculum. We're gonna wipe everything off the table. But what's a small change that we could make that's research has shown that it's impactful? And so last year I did some research about intervention curriculums, and I came across Dreambox, and I talked with Paul Smith a little bit about it, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's the only one that's research based." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." Yeah, the people down at Harvard, they've been doing a lot of research about it. And I said, "I think we want to try it out. I think we want to do a little pilot program." And Paul said, "Great." And so then we went to talk to Joe Carroll, and we said, "Hey, Joe Carroll, we want to try this thing out called Dreambox, and it's a little expensive, but we think it's going to be a good thing for our kiddos." So, so this is from Dreambox, adaptive online program. One thing I like about Dreambox is you get a license. You get that license for the entire school year. You can use it at school. Some kids use it at home. Not a lot right now, but some do. A lot in the beginning of the year. They were going like gangbusters, and then, they get busy. But they also have access to Dreambox over the summer. And so that made me think, ooh, maybe this might be a way that we can sort of have a little less summer slide. We're going to have some summer slide. It's going to happen no matter what. Summer slide being when they slide back from what they've learned. So I don't know. But I did want to just play a quick little video for you from Dreambox. It is for teachers, but you guys are you're teachers too. Just gives a little explanation of the reason behind Dreambox, the reason for it. Oh, come on, internet. Here we go.
To Dreambox Learning. As educators, we know how hard it is to make sure every student is challenged, motivated, and confident in math. After all, some of your students might be ready for topics at the next grade level, while others don't understand key concepts from prior grades. That's why we made Dreambox. It's a powerful partner for differentiation that easily fits with what you're already doing in your classroom. And you'll see that it works, just as Harvard, SRI, and districts across North America have demonstrated in the most validated, independent research studies of any K-8 math software. To ensure the best differentiation and growth, students should use Dreambox a few times per week, either at school or at home, in 20 to 30-minute sessions. From the moment your students begin, you'll notice that Dreambox is different. Other digital programs make math a spectator sport because students passively watch video lectures and complete digitized worksheets. But Dreambox uses interactive manipulatives and tools that help students make sense of math in ways that are only possible with technology. Whether lessons are assigned by you or automatically recommended by Dreambox, your students will always have engaging, differentiated lessons that develop conceptual understanding, procedural skill, and fact fluency. And just as no two students are alike, no two lessons or pathways will be exactly the same for your students. Dreambox is also unique because it evaluates students' understanding by assessing not only their answers, but also how they solve problems and use models to justify their solutions. Because this rich, ongoing assessment is embedded in every lesson, Dreambox never needs to interrupt learning with disconnected benchmarks or quizzes. Dreambox uses this continuous stream of data to provide real-time adaptations and scaffolds within lessons, while also recommending next lessons for each student based on their unique needs. That's why your students can and will learn independently within Dreambox without any prior instruction. So, if they ask for help, don't show them how to solve the problem. Just make sure they understand the task and remind them that it's okay to click the hit button and make mistakes. There's much more to learn about Dreambox as you and your students embark on this exciting journey of improved success in math. We'll be with you every step of the way.
All right. Okay. Oops. So, oopsie, sorry about that. I have to refresh this thing. So Dreambox. And so when I first saw the information about it, I was skeptical, because it sounded like this amazing thing that was gonna fix everything. But you remember this that I showed you earlier, this crazy document? Well, the woman behind this document, Kathy Fosno, is also a consultant for Dreambox. And I thought, all right, well, if Kathy Fosno, who is an amazing math educator, is behind this, there's got to be something really good going on here. And so the other thing about this is that every kiddo needs an intervention. And every kiddo needs enrichment. And we do our utmost best to provide as much differentiation as we can for all of our kids. But every kiddo needs, there's always something that we're not always able to provide or give. And this Dreambox allows kids to get really targeted intervention and support and enrichment that's right where they are right now on a given day. And as a teacher, this for our pilot year, we used it in whole group in kindergarten, 1st, 5th, and 6th grade to sort of look at what's the whole cohort information. And then we used it as an intervention with students in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and then we had one 8th grader. And I had a friend from VMI who said that it's really great K to 6, 7th and 8th grade. Sometimes it's it's not quite cool enough, and also if you have a student who's way beyond 8th grade level, it's not for them. But fortunately, we have other things for those kiddos. As a teacher, one of the things that I really liked about it is I get a lot of information about where kids are at. And what they're working on. So this is a sample of a student in our school, his profile. And I know it's a little hard to see, but this is a 7-day profile. So it shows me where this student's been working and where they've been making progress. There's like little lines with arrows there, and it says so-and-so has been making progress here. And if I'm curious what it is that they're working on, I can go in and look. And there's even professional development. I can go in and click on those little PDs, and it will give information to teachers. There's more PD than one can watch in a school year. But if you have a student that's really struggling, sometimes you can really pick apart at the onion and try to find the piece that's really a misconception for them. And then you can just build into your menu ways to support kids so that they're practicing both on Dreambox and in the classroom as well. Sometimes I incorporate misconceptions that I see showing up on Dreambox into number talks. If I want students to practice something, like I pushed a bunch of fractions lessons to some 3rd and 4th graders because I knew SBAC was coming up, and I knew that they were going to need a little bit more time with these fraction concepts, and I wanted them to get some front loading happening. We get information about where students are at with a particular Common Core standard. But the other thing that's really great is that I can flip this and I can look and see how kids are doing based on our particular curriculum. So that's really helpful too sometimes. Especially if you have that whole cohort, you can see where your cohort is on a particular module in our curriculum. And we can also give them, like I was saying, give them targeted lessons and look at progress over time. So we're progress monitoring around a really specific skill. It also gives me information like if students struggling. This is where I've been pulling information for number talks. So I can go in and say, okay, we're really having a hard time with this. Let's really tease this out, either in something that's happening in menu, a problem-solving task, or in a number talk or a counting activity. And then we can look at their growth over time. This is last week, a student, so you can see the jump after practicing for a week. And this is that same student I showed you. This is their growth for the whole year. And, this is a student that came in. So this shows you where they were placed at the beginning of the year, and these are the gaps that they've been filling in. This happens to be a 3rd grade student, and they've got some pieces missing in 2nd grade. So Dreambox can send them activities to help them work on closing up those gaps and those misconceptions. Oh, and the other thing that's really nice about Dreambox is let's say that you're in 5th grade and you're working on a 2nd grade concept. It doesn't look like 2nd grade. It looks like all the other 5th graders around you. So there's that piece too, where you're not it's differentiated, but it's also there's an equity piece there too, so that there's that piece of feeling good and confident about what you're doing. And then this is actually a 5th grader who this is her weekly progress, and you can see that she's really filled in a lot of gaps, and she is sort of plowing through that 5th grade material. And this is a student who's really using Dreambox as enrichment, and she's playing around and tinkering with these 6th, 7th, and 8th grade concepts. These are things that she may or may not have had a chance to access necessarily because they don't necessarily come up in the curriculum, but she's ready for them. And I mean, we've seen this with the kindergartners. We had some kindergartners in October playing around with. They were ready to put numbers well into the 1 to 100 sequence in order, and they were playing around with stuff they wouldn't have seen necessarily in our curriculum at that point. And that's her yearly growth, or her growth so far this year, rather. That one particular. Yeah. So I think that's really true. And I suppose if, I think that play is really, really important. And I don't know if that's because I was a kindergarten teacher. I'm about to go back to that, but I think I've seen more growth in kids this year who come or who, when I go into their classroom, who are just deeply involved in these rich, fun math games. And math is fun. For most of them, most of the time. There's a few I still have to convince. And I did bring some games, and I do have some things set up, but I know it sounds like you have a pretty busy agenda. So,
I love math.
You want to play a math game? All right, let's play a math game. I have, here's an example of a low floor, high ceiling task. All right. So this is a game with a ridiculous title called Up Chickens. I don't know why it's called Up Chickens. It's also called Salute. But so this is a game that can be played with additive reasoning. You need 3 people to play this game. Jody, will you play this game?
Sure.
All right.
I'll play that game. But
All right.
I
And Michael
did try
will
to
be
do
the other person.
my granddaughter's homeworks and stuff. I'm no good at it.
You're going to be great at this. So here, you can play this game. I play this game with kindergartners with 10 frame cards or 5 frame cards, and we work with numbers 0 to 4. And then with 2nd grade and 1st grade, we're using these cards to play this game. With 3rd grade and now 2nd grade, we're using just numeral cards, and with 3rd and 4th grade, we're doing we can do additive reasoning, but we can also do multiplicative reasoning, so they can multiply. And then you can play it with dominoes, and I'll explain it in just a minute. So that ups the level of difficulty. And then I've played it before with middle schoolers, where these are 0 to 100 cards, and these happen to be all the cards, well, except for 0, from 51 to 100. So the way this game works is you divide the deck in half, and I'll do this 1st grade style. Yeah, that's about right. And so I'm going to give a deck to you, Jody. You're going to leave it face down, and same with you, Michael. And when I say Up Chickens, you're both going to, you might want to turn your chair, Jody, so you can see Michael. You're both going to take a card without looking at it.
Focus, right?
Focus over here. You're going to take a card without looking at it and stick it up on your forehead.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Ready? Up Chickens. All right.
Seven.
Now my job is to tell you what the sum of those two cards is. So you have a sum of 11. You two have to figure out what card you have.
4.
You have a sum of 11.
Yep.
Oh, okay, 7.
Yeah. Right. And so then those cards go in the middle, and then we rotate the deck, and somebody else gets a turn. So, in the spirit of choice, we could play additive, you could play multiplication, you could play with dominoes, or you could be adding these larger numbers together and figuring out what you have.
That's upside down.
Was it upside down?
6119.
This is
Hard to know.
61.
It's all in your
19 has
perspective.
a straight line. The 9 has a straight line. So, yeah. Well, that could make it fun, you know. You could go either way.
Stand on my head.
You want to play up chickens?
I think I have to be the meanie.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so again, that's just an example of a low floor, high ceiling task that can be played kindergarten all the way up to
That's
8th
how
grade.
52 drops.
Yeah.
So so based on your experience, are you seeing more, you made it sound as if you're seeing a lot of progress more than what you normally have in the past that you,
Yeah, I
in
think
your
so.
N=1 experience of thinking that this is a really beneficial program.
Yeah, and we're definitely hearing students use vocabulary and language, that especially the students who have Dreambox as a whole group, in ways that we haven't used them before. I mean, I remember in October when a kindergartner talked to me about less than. And I was like, wait, what now? Tell me more about what you're noticing about those numbers. And there's a particular second grader who has just made growth, just huge growth, and when she talks in a number talk, she's so much more confident, but it's not even just her confidence level, she's so much more capable, and she has a deeper understanding of how to take numbers apart. Her place value understanding and reasoning has improved so much this year. And I don't know if in her case, I don't know if that's Dreambox or if that's Math Menu, but I'd like to think it's a combination of both of those things. So, and I can tell you that the current first grade, they are they are playing a lot of games that the second grade is also playing. They're not quite playing at the same level as the second graders, but they are definitely hot on their tail, I will say, in terms of and they've had a lot of long opportunity to play games and engage with these concepts. So, yeah, play, it's fun, and play is a fun way to learn. So, yeah.
Well, I know before you talked about Dreambox before this in the math program, my grandgirls came home with a game
Yeah.
and wanted all the adults to. We spent hours at night playing these
Yeah.
games with them because it was fun.
Yeah.
And the older one at that point hated math, but now she's very good
Well,
at
now,
math.
yeah.
So, math, especially for girls. Math. You don't want to do that.
Right, yeah. And I think our former curriculum, it was very game-based, and our new curriculum is less so, but I think there's a way to find a happy medium there. And there's a lot of really wonderful things that can be incorporated into what we're doing to develop those concepts. So, that we can bring back. Sorry for all the technical difficulties, and sorry I almost gave you a concussion.
I've had those before.
That was fabulous. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Lady.
you.
Like, really so exciting to
Yeah.
see how, not the sausage gets made, that's not a good, but how the magic happens in the classroom and how you're creating that enthusiasm around math, which is really important.
Yeah, it is really important.
I love to see the enthusiasm, and I hope we continue with teachers and learning about their class and their things that they love too.
Point taken, Ms. Normanville.
I'm just going to try not to kill anyone.
Right.
No. Oh, Emily's not here.
We got 4 names, that's all we need.
Oh, they did go.
Food committee reports. Food food committee, have you met this month yet?
We have not met, we meet Friday.
You're gonna get the survey results, I recollect? At some point soon?
That's true.
And that was gonna help us form the basis of a discussion about how this was all working out.
Yes, and part of that discussion will be for the food committee, the committee and survey to,
Can you speak up a little bit, Joe here?
at this meeting, sort of that food nutrition committee,
Yes.
its charge is to see if the goals that were set at the beginning of the year with cafe services have been met. And to make a recommendation to the board about continuing on.
So we should probably expect the food committee to come to the end of April meeting, you think? Or
Uh,
it depends when the survey results are done.
Actually, I think you could expect them at the 23rd meeting.
Okay. I just want to put that early on the agenda if they're coming and make sure we schedule time for it, so excellent. Finance committee, Jody, you had a
Yes, we
meeting?
did have a fairly short one in front of the SU. We have a new chair, Walter Brow from Vernon. And I think vice chair is Kim. We didn't talk about a whole lot of things at this point. And I'm trying to think what we presented to the SU, and I can't think of what we presented to the SU.
I think it was very quick.
Just the nominations or
Just the
whatever I think we
nominations
presented.
and then we approved warrants.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of context. I mean, a lot of the new people like me that are on the finance committee. So, just trying to get a handle on the warrants and whatever.
Excellent.
And I think I sent them around too.
You did.
If I
got
don't,
them.
give me a holler if I forget.
We also had a meeting of the SU board last week. Officers were nominated. It's the KKK. It is Carrie's the chair, Kristina's the vice chair, and Katie Everest is the clerk. So remember it that way. 3 Ks.
I don't want to remember it
No,
that way.
We went through the policies. There were a few changes. It's on our list to go through policies and get feedback today. There were a couple of changes, especially in the Title I policy.
It's still questionable, yes.
And yeah, so there's changes that are going to be made for the third reading, but I don't think those have been done yet and distributed. But when we talk about that, I guess we can go over that. There was nothing, oh, and then the other item from the SU board meeting was the board approved a waiver for, the SU board approved Carrie Amadon send a waiver to the State Board of Education for SU representation in the event we're merged. So each town would have a board member on the SU board, and Brattleboro would have,
Would they have more, or
I thought they had more.
I don't remember.
It isn't in the minutes because it's an attachment, so I don't have it.
Yeah.
I didn't bring my SU board meeting. I thought there were more from Brattleboro.
So we agreed with whatever it was.
Yeah, we agreed, and it was, Brattleboro agreed, so I think it was like 3 from Brattleboro, 1, and then 1 from each town, including Vernon.
I should remember.
No, it couldn't
but I
be 3
don't.
from Brattleboro. I think it was 1 from each town, because there aren't 3 representatives from Brattleboro. That's the problem. We tried to make it more from Brattleboro.
There were too many meetings last week.
Yeah.
I got them all mixed up in my head.
But that was because the SU representation, if we merged, it's a $40 million budget that's represented with 85% of the SU underneath it. And Vernon, we'd have equal representation at the SU level. And so that,
And Vernon was very good to make the presentation. They didn't think it was fair. And it really wasn't, but that's what the state had said it had to be at that point, so. But they are
that's the
taking
statute,
waivers.
But they take waivers, yeah. So, and you were very nice to point that out. That was very collegial of you. It was nice to point that out as people are getting in the weeds, to say thank you for volunteering that up. So. And I think it's great that Carrie's the chair and Walter Brow's the chair of the finance committee, because it bodes well for keeping our supervisory union together and keeping that money and those students with us. And then I'm gonna talk about the
Yeah.
transitional meeting.
Do you have
later.
other committees or?
Were there other committees?
Yes, but I didn't go.
Oh, diversity.
Diversity, I have missed the last two. One I was physical, not mental, but physical, I couldn't go. And the other one, I did not have on my list. I don't think the date was on the original list, so I missed it. So I have now emailed her and gotten the last two dates. So hopefully I won't miss the next. The information that, and particularly the, it's not called the blog, but the thing that I sent around to you maybe a month or so ago is very interesting to listen to. They're just short blurbs. I don't know whether anybody else has listened to them or not. I did pass them around to my granddaughter who was in diversity in Brattleboro, in the high school now, thinking that she'd like them, and I don't know whether she's listened to them or not, but it would be really good to get the kids involved too.
Good. Thank you, Jody. Administrative report.
I don't have a lot. Tomorrow night is arts night. As you can see, the halls are filling up.
Beautiful.
All right.
Excuse me?
Okay.
Another night, right?
Yes, and I think we have tentatively set the 8th grade graduation for Thursday, June 13th.
June 13th.
Thursday. Barring any more snow days, and it does
See the
not
snow
run into
coming down?
any BUHS stuff. We, those award ceremonies are happening the following week.
We're all well versed in this, right? You show up, look nice, right? Been there, done that, no new board members. Amy told the story one time where she showed up like halfway through, like she was gardening, and so she just skipped down to graduation and didn't realize it was a formal occasion, so.
Does anybody have the 8th grader graduating this year?
Yes.
Mr. McGillian.
Miss Stoner.
Miss Stone?
Miss
Yeah.
Stone.
So you get to give your graduate, Paul, his congratulations.
If he makes it.
He's gonna make it.
No pressure.
Fortnight to pull away if it gets
Yeah.
I will step away, I will step down, and
Yes, like
so
you
will
do.
Emily, so that you can rise, and so will Jody, so you can rise to the position of chair, which I know you've always wanted to do.
Mm.
Well, it was nice. I got to do it last year,
Mhm.
so it was nice.
It's a good photo op. Anything else, Joe Carroll?
At this time.
Anything from supervisor?
Sure. So, we had an academic support teachers meeting. So we had Lily and Jen at attendance. That was a SU-wide meeting. We focused on some literacy topics. Actually, Lily presented her math menu work. That's and also the assessment she does. That informs that work. And then I don't know if you've met Team Reed, the new math coach this year, but she's been actually working with academic support teachers and classroom teachers in general, just around looking at some of the possible manipulatives and other materials that classrooms may need to support some of the work that actually Lily was just referring to. Let's see, we did host Screenagers last week, which was a nice follow-up from the Dummerston event, and did connect with the person who presented at Dummerston.
Oh, they did?
So she came and she was actually a panelist for after the video, so that was great to connect with her, and she's interested in continuing the conversation at Dummerston. So that was just great to have like a face-to-face connection, and the film was well attended, and people have been connecting with me about showing it other places, maybe towns or schools showing it separately for their school, finding a way to maybe co-sponsor, with other local groups. It is $500 to show it the one time. But it's really brings up a lot of questions, and it's actually very empowering. And the film itself can launch other groups that can meet more regularly.
Maybe we could share with Putney or share with
Yeah,
that makes
that's
good
a good
sense,
idea.
yeah.
Yeah,
Get in the process of sharing a lot of stuff. Now keep it going.
yeah, yeah. Let's see. So we'll be interviewing soon for my replacement, and so I'll spend time training that person and transitioning that person, so you can get to know that person and be welcoming them into their new role. And then I've been starting to come here to meet with Joe Carroll this week, and so
That was going to be
That's
my
good.
question. So
Yeah.
you're starting to transition
Yeah.
into good.
right. So that's been
And learn
really helpful.
where all the light switches are and where the
I-
water
yeah.
is and the septic system and the well.
A lot to learn. Yeah. just everything.
You got a
So-
list, I hope, Joe Carroll.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so when will that position roughly, thoughtfully, your replacement?
It's been posted, and I know, I'm not sure exactly when the interviews are happening, but within the next couple of weeks, I believe.
That brings me to, we'll have some hiring to do, I suppose, right?
Yes. Did I tell you that we hired Jill as the pre-K
I can't-
teacher? We hired Jill as the pre-K teacher.
It's kind of what I was asking.
That's kind of what we're at.
And Lily as the kindergarten teacher for next year.
So
which
Joe's
provided-
going pre-K? and-
Yep.
Okay.
And the academic support teaching position has been posted
Okay.
on School Spring and within the district.
We're going to have the dynamite, what are you calling it now? It's not pre-K?
Early education.
Early Education Center, okay. How
And there's no other hiring or anything, I didn't miss a retirement along the way.
We'll have a maternity hiring.
That's right.
And I was speaking to Julianne about it, that my preference was to wait until May, June. So, because it's difficult to get teachers to commit to a maternity leave when the full-time openings are
Right.
prevalent. So,
Right.
hopefully we'll get the best of those that didn't get positions
Full-time
during this hiring season.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Anything else on the administrative report? Moving on to pre-K. Oh, what? I had forgotten a communication that I ran into Janice Stockman in the grocery store and just expressed our challenges, by ours I mean Joe Carroll's challenges at making sure the pre-K gets up and running, and she said that she is happy to run interference and do what she can do to try to make that happen. So I did forward that to Joe Carroll. So it's just nice to have some help in that, and who knows, maybe she knows people in high places.
Yes.
Move
Yes.
this forward. Anything else on pre-K?
Lily and Jill are going to be meeting with her this week.
Oh, good.
On Thursday.
Excellent.
I have submitted phase 1 and waiting for approval of our phase 1 application, which is the conduit to getting somebody down on site that becomes our person to help us through the second phase of licensing.
Any change in numbers of kindergartners, or pre-Ks?
Oh, yeah, they're coming in fast. So right now we have, and we may need to revisit this at some point, we have sort of 12 pre-K students and 17 or 19 kindergarten students.
That's great.
That is great.
Except that's a
It's more than we had anticipated, and we may need to talk more about that.
we knew if we built it, they would come.
That has been the experience throughout the district, that if you open those doors, people walk through them. So we had originally spoken about 10 pre-K spots, so,
And we took 11, and actually, number 12 is slotted for kindergarten, but,
okay.
probably not, which would put, kindergarten up to 19 then. And anything after 10 in pre-K is going to require the parent to be sort of full-time in the pre-K.
I gotcha.
And I don't want to have a kindergarten without any support.
Right.
So.
We
it
were
may
looking
be-
at 2 teachers and 1 para for that whole room.
Right, for 10 pre-K and up to 15 kindergarten students. And I'm still sort of optimistic that maybe it will be, but,
So this will have to
We
be
had-
an ongoing,
yeah. Have we met since we had kindergarten registration?
I don't think so.
Have we?
Didn't you just have it a week or 2 ago?
No, we had it in March, so we
Oh,
met.
we have it.
What a great class.
yes, we did, that's what
Oh,
you said,
yes.
yes.
Yes, and then they've kept going since then, so,
So we'll have to keep talking,
yeah.
figuring
yeah.
out what we do.
And, maybe internal figuring out too, but they're definitely, they said they had visited Putney Central's pre-K with 16 students in there, and there were 4 adults, just in a much smaller space.
Mhm.
But I'm optimistic that it will just be fine.
Well, we'll be around to make sure it is fine
Yeah.
some way or the other.
Yep.
So
Um,
that's what
And
we
I think you got a little taste of it this evening of just Jill and Lily talking and planning and excitement. You kind of just sit back and watch it.
It's a great opportunity to start something
Yeah.
new and something that families want so much. So we're lucky to have such great practitioners to do that.
Yes.
Thank you for all the heavy lifting, Jim Carroll.
Well, just make sure that.
Well, yell for help.
We're a little farther along, I think, than what it was at this time.
Okay.
Looking at some of the dates on this thing, but as I said before, it's a tricky minefield of processes.
Yes. Moving on, SU policy review. Everybody has reviewed their policies, yes?
Yes.
These are good eggs.
Which ones do you want? The ones we have been putting off or the new ones?
Well, any of them, if anybody, I don't really want to go through them entirely. I'm going to assume that people have read them and brought their comments, and then we can discuss it as a board, answer any questions if we have them, if there are no questions. I don't think we should talk about the Title I because all that wording is changed, and that was the one that was very confusing.
Yeah, so it's still changing then, right?
Yeah, that we don't have the new copy, we just did that
Okay.
last Thursday. So,
I still have the prevention of harassment, which I brought up at the SU, is the word creed, which Lyle was going to check into, rather than using religion or religious
Right.
beliefs or whatever. I still have a problem with B3, board member conflict of interest, with the definition of conflict of interest, so I don't know whether that's changing or not.
did we talk about that the other
We
day?
did, because I brought in the definition of conflict of interest from the VLCT, which for the select board, which I thought was much more constructive than this definition. And then whether the VLCT is the state definition or not, but someone suggested the state definition, and I don't know what that is. Do you want me to?
Well, if there are things you brought up in the meeting already that we discussed in the meeting,
Well,
I
we
think-
still have to talk about them and agree to them, right?
Well, a lot of the things were kind of agreed to in the meeting, we're just bringing back any additional thoughts, so I don't think, like, the creed thing, maybe, I don't know if that got taken up as a change.
Lyle is going to look it up
Okay, so,
and check on that.
um,
Okay, so anything I brought up at the SU, you're not interested in hearing then, okay? This bullying thing is unbelievably long.
yeah, that's the one that we really have to move through pretty quickly, because we really need to have that one done, because we're a little behind.
It looks okay, I mean, it's so long.
Well, it's a state policy,
Yeah.
there's nothing, I know with that one, Lyle said, any wording change, because it's a mandatory policy, has to go back to an attorney. So unless it's a big, big problem you have, we're spending lawyer fees, because the state has given us this as a policy we have to implement. It isn't something we created, so any changes we make are.
The last page of that policy has the statutes
Yeah.
for which it's referencing and making sure that it's in compliance with.
So when you're saying the state, because some of these are mandatory, and mandatory doesn't mean you have to take their wording, but the policy is mandatory. But if it's a state thing, it sounds to me like we have to take their wording.
No, I don't think that's exactly correct. I mean, what I think Kristina is saying is that when there is a wording change, it needs to be vetted by a lawyer in order to make sure that it still is in compliance with the statutes that it cites, to
Okay.
make sure that it encompasses the things that are attempted to be captured by the statute for which it's trying to meet.
So when it
So
has,
it's the waffly answer, but you know,
so any of these that are mandatory have state, yes, they do. Well, this one does, yeah, it does.
I think the bullying and harassment one is a little bit more particular because it
Very.
probably encompasses some criminal statutes
Yeah.
in
Yes.
addition to just an education-related statutes, which for, can be mandatory, but not to the same extent that a legal definition of a criminal offense might be.
I did notice in that there's a lot of things that, like pledging and things like that, that have no pertinence to Dummerston. But it's in, there's a lot of those words, fraternity, sorority, those kinds of things that I thought, well, okay, even with the high school.
Yeah,
I didn't have any others, Kristina, than,
We spent a lot of time on Friday at our admin meeting reviewing our procedures of how to meet
yeah,
right.
these
harassment.
because of the, up the ante in terms of what we need to do investigating these claims of harassment bullying. It's pretty extensive, and I think a lot of case law has sort of evolved to, which is, I'm sure, reflected in the updated policy to ensure
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
that we are not stepping into minefields unknowingly.
But, Michael, with the member conflict of interest, and it refers to a bunch of 16 VSAs. So maybe the definition that's in here is the state definition. I do not know that,
I don't know if that's off my head, I can look at it.
because,
If you gave me your copies, if you don't mind. Just to look at.
which is interesting, it's so much more minor than the LCT one.
Can I just ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
So we would not be then doing the readings, 1, 2, 3
No,
anymore?
because this is an SU
SU.
policy level, so it's just been brought down, so I do not believe we have to turn around. It's a SU-wide policy that's being adopted. So if we want to do something different, which we would not be doing in the case of bullying and harassment,
Right,
but
but
if we wanted to do something different, then the policy, like, the default is the SU policies, and then if we want to do board level policies, like we did with our conflict of interest, because we thought that that one was not beefy enough, then we can have a different policy. That's when we have to do the readings, or the kindergarten. Like, if we're doing something different than what the SU policy is, that's when we need to do that.
So the bottom line, anything that comes from the SU, and we don't want to change, we don't have the readings on it then? 1, 2,
Right.
3, okay.
It's not at the SU
And
level.
the SU is more like a minimum requirement kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and then we
the
can always
method
make it-
just comes
We can
from
always
the SU.
beef it up,
Yeah.
like we did with our conflict of interest, so.
You want to keep it for a while?
I just want to put it in the notes.
Any other comments from anybody on that big, a lot of them were pretty pro forma, like,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever, so.
A lot of reading.
A lot of
A
reading.
lot of paper. I mean, we got passed out these from the Transitional Board. I wonder what their copying costs are.
Yeah, you're not copying them here.
Give me the credit card. They're installed on the copier.
I'm so paranoid going into that
I
conference.
borrowed Miss Lily's and she goes, "You're not making color photocopies, are you?" I'm like, "I'm black and white, only black and white, I swear." And so when I spoke about the school emergency plan follow-up at the beginning, I haven't heard anything, so I will keep that volley going. Let's, if it pleases the board, let's flip under new business A and B, and I'll just give everybody an update on the transitional meeting process, because there's a little work to be done for the board. And then we'll do the fun thing, planning for the new principal welcome event. So we had have we met since the first transitional board meeting? I got so, yeah, that was just last week, right?
That was last week, yeah.
So that was
And then
last week.
this one is this week.
So we
just
had the first organizational meeting and transitional board meeting. That's 2 representatives from each school and each district, including the UHS. Ricky was made the chair, and Kim Price very graciously accepted to do the clerk. And Emily Hartz from Guilford is the vice chair. So the first meeting, not much was we actually
Changed the name.
changed the name. Well, actually, I should go back to the organizational meeting, because we did amend the default articles so that it would be a floor vote for the budget. The annual meeting would be a floor vote. And there was like an hour discussion on that, and a lot of good comments, and a lot of the things that you hear about people wanting to be able to weigh in, who would have a hard time getting to a floor vote meeting, and how we could make the floor vote meeting more enticing. My favorite comment of the evening was our own Ruth Barton, who has a long history with changing the date and trying to make it better, and went through all the ways they've tried to make more people show up. They tried Saturdays and less people came. I won't do my Ruth Barton accent. They tried Saturdays and less people came. They tried a Tuesday afternoon, less people came. They tried a Friday morning and served pizza, and even fewer people came. So to the point that I am convinced that the only way we can get better attendance is if we give away a free bedroom set.
She used to say, before times changed, a toaster. But now toaster, people aren't gonna come for a toaster anymore, she said, so.
So that carried the day, and it became a floor vote. Your article to compensate, I friendly amended so that the compensation for the board will be $4,000 for the board members and $6,000 for the chair. Especially in this first year, I feel like it is it's going to be a bear, and it's a lot more driving, frankly, than board members are used to doing, and time spent in the car going. I mean, Guilford's a long way from here in the winter when you have to go down Guilford Center Road. So I just think in terms of trying to compensate people for just babysitter time, that it would allow people with young children, single parents who have to pay for babysitters, it might make it possible for them.
I was one of 2 votes that was not happy with 4 and 6, because we only get 5, and
100. We get 500.
Yeah. I thought I think it's a lot of money, but.
Well, when you put all of it
Both.
together, it was a good math problem. It's
Only that much because you think you should get less than that. You're the voice behind the low number in
I know, I
Dummerston. I'm just saying.
I just never mind. There were 2 votes against it, and one was mine.
Yeah, all those people that think you and I just agree on everything, Jody, were
Well, we
sadly
do.
mistaken
We-
that I made the motion and you're the only person in the room that disagreed with me, so that was good. That was it for the organizational meeting. We moved into the first meeting of the transitional board. That the only real decision-making after the elections were to decide on a name. The state has given us the name Wyndham Southeast Unified Union School District with the acronym WSEUUSD. Did I get that right?
We see you, Steve.
Which
That's right, you were at the meeting too, weren't
Yes.
you?
which a lively discussion ensued because Frank had already started getting his EIN number and everything he needs done with that name. And this was another 45-minute discussion, so the meeting went quite late. I think we got out at 10 o'clock or so.
I got home about 10:30.
Yeah, and so in the end,
School
it was decided Wyndham Southeast School District.
That's much better.
We were gonna come up with a doing business as later
Right.
on.
And then later on, we can come up with a DBA, doing business as name if we want to. And, you know, there was discussion about let's put it out to the community, let's have kids come up with creative ideas, whatever. So, so we can do that later. But having a website that's WSEUUSD is just a recipe for, you know, exhaustion, I think. And so if we can get rid of a couple letters on that, I think it's a good thing. We're moving forward. Sean tried to change it again last night at the second meeting. Sean Murphy, he likes the union in there, but it fell like a lead balloon because he
He
missed
didn't
the
even
first
get a
meeting.
second.
Well, he wasn't at the first meeting, so I don't think he knew the controversy. So nobody seconded his motion, which is rare. Generally, we'll all discuss things. So that went like over like a lead balloon. So it seems like that is our name for the near future. Last night, a lively discussion about the consolidated budget ensued. And where everybody now understands, everybody in the transitional board now understands what a CLA is.
This is everybody's budget. We all got this packet. If anybody wants
Is
to,
it
I forwarded-
stapled together or
I
is it?
forwarded-
it's stapled together.
No, but I'm saying is everybody's budget put together?
No, it's
Oh.
all the individual budgets.
That's what, yes, that's what she's asking.
And then we've got information, and we probably should send this all out.
I sent it all out, I just said that. I forwarded, Barb sent us the information.
It's
and
just an email, I just got it when we got
I
it.
didn't send it to you, you already had it.
I was gonna say, I didn't get
You were on
it.
the transitional board.
I
So
know.
you got it from Barb, and so then I forwarded it to the board members who
So
did not.
all
have
these
it.
3 pieces of paper then?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So-
And she's supposed to be,
$50 million.
she's supposed to be putting this on the website or something so people can get at it too, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, she sent it out anyway. So our task, the first part of the conversation was that Frank said that the consolidated tax rate is $1.70, and I said, well, those are still going to be modified by the CLA. Are we going to warn that? And he did not seem inclined. He wanted to warn $1.70, and I said that I'm very concerned that Brattleboro has traditionally been $1.55 to $1.59 is going to see $1.70, and they have a favorable CLA, and we should warn it as what their new tax rate is going to be, because they warned $1.60 before, and now they're warning $1.64.
Their warning will be the same as ours. I thought it was $1.68 with
No.
their CLA.
64, I think.
I didn't bring my papers with me, but
I didn't bring those
because
papers with me either. I got too
I
many
was showing him
papers.
to Paul, and he said, well, Brattleboro and Dummerston are exactly the same.
You're right. It would be $1.68. Why do I have $1.64? That must be.
I don't know. We were throwing
We have
numbers
the
around
same
like crazy.
CLA. We have the same CLA, right, I think. Oh, you have it right in there. Look up the CLA.
Right in where?
In the big one.
In the big packet, you can see everybody's CLA.
Yeah, page 7, was it?
Yeah, our tax rate, I can't understand why everybody's, well, I guess that's maybe because we lost some students. Putney's goes up.
No, this isn't the tax rate. We're,
You have to get
CLAs.
you have to get on each big consolidated page.
The
Well, I suppose it's
the
not
one
really.
right on the right-hand page one?
Well, this is what he had originally done here.
That's the one without,
Oh,
without
that's one
any
without the
CLA.
CLA.
It's got 100% for
Okay.
everybody's CLA, but do you remember where that was, Christina?
If you give me the packet, I can find it. I know
Okay.
where to find that one.
I have the packet.
I know my 3-year,
I should have brought that, I had it all written out at home, and I should have brought that, but I didn't. Sorry.
there it is. So their CLA is 103.7.
That's what as far as it's also
WTSU,
One, two, three, six,
And ours is Dummerston.
We're 103 point something.
104?
Not quite.
Oh, that's Guilford, sorry.
Not quite.
It's Guilford's. They're not all the same. There it is. There it is. Dummerston. 103.68. Yeah, so I guess I misremembered. So ours are both at, so their tax rate is up $1.68.
Yeah, well, you might not have misremembered because we had several times people throwing
Going
out
through the numbers.
everything, and to come up with the final was interesting.
I don't, yeah.
So,
It's,
who's down? There's gotta be somebody down.
we're down maybe a penny.
Yeah, we're down a couple pennies, I think,
Woo!
aren't we?
No, because what's in there isn't what we ended up on because we had that transportation grant that we warned.
Okay.
So
We were level.
we were level, so we're like plus or minus a penny.
66, we were,
Okay, so then we're up 2 pennies.
where's,
Yeah,
if you just staple through those together, if somebody's going up, should somebody else go down?
I don't know.
Putney went up. Putney was
Putney went up.
1.7.
Well, I don't know what they warned. Guilford stayed the same.
And Brattleboro's way up. So
Brattleboro's way up, so where's it coming from?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, where's it going?
Well, we have the whole packet so we can try and make sense of it, but I think Frank, at the end of that, understood that I think it's very important that that the taxpayer wants literally the bottom line. They want to know what
Yeah,
they're
that's what I
paying
kept
in their
telling you.
community. And I
Yeah.
thought that was, it's literally the bottom line on that 3-year tax comparison. So people want to know. We're going to go comb through the menu. I don't know if it's going to be up to the transitional board if we try to do something. With those budgets, there's not a lot of time to do that. It has to be warned very quickly.
What bothered me, one of the things that bothered me last night is the conversation between Jamie and Frank about keeping their food budget. Because their food budget is way over even Brattleboro's food budget, which is
Per
the
people,
3
you mean?
school. No, the
Their-
amount.
So,
The amount is way up. And Frank said, oh, you can keep your food, but I don't know how, the rest of us are on cafe services, and I don't know how a board, a super board's going to say it's okay to spend $85,000 or whatever it is for their food, when the rest of us aren't. I'd love to have their food, and we've talked about maybe working together with them.
I think these are the kind of conversations that are going to have to be had. I'm just not sure they're the kind of conversations we can have if we have to go forward with a full budget in 2 weeks' time.
No, that budget's gonna be this,
Okay.
I
That's
don't
gonna
think
be what it
anybody's
is,
gonna
yeah.
cut that, but I mean, looking down the road, Putney's very concerned. And I don't blame them, because they worked hard for their food program.
Yeah, I think that is a discussion for those
That
people running for the transitional, the first board. And, hopefully they'll come up with some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Parameters or some sort of algorithm to figure out how people can keep things that they want. And maybe everybody has a certain discretionary fund to put to something, and if you want to put it to food, maybe you put it to food. If you want to put it to academic support, you put it to academic support. If you want to put it to PreK for third, so maybe there is some algorithm they can work on.
Well, we need to have 2 members from Dummerston to be helping to work on that.
That brings me to my
So
fun
wait a
thing.
second. Wait a second.
Michael. No, it's just.
What?
It says Michael on it.
No, it just says Michael. That was my first. I was just testing it out. Who runs for the super board?
Oh, look at that.
That's
Jody.
Jody.
Yeah. Jody's out.
Oh,
So
Christina.
Christina.
Oh!
All signs point to Christina.
No! no, I have ballots right here. I have petitions right here.
Oh, I think you have to go with the software.
Yeah.
That's cool.
There's 2 seats.
This is a middle school teacher.
Kristina,
right here.
again.
That's 2 out of 3, sorry.
2 out of 3, yeah, you win.
Wait, there's 2 seats. That was for the 1-year seat.
Why does it stop on one color and then
Michael,
go up to another
I
color?
don't get it.
Where's the arrow?
Where's the arrow?
It's
Right
in
here.
yellow. The arrow's in the yellow,
I'll
but
hit it again.
Oh, I see it. I
Oh,
thought it
by
was
your
like a-
head?
Yeah, by her head.
now the
Christina.
Oh, you
arrow.
won again.
Christina and Michael keep coming up.
But Sue, you need to take out your petition.
I will be.
So the
I'll take it
Brattleboro,
out for you.
the Brattleboro, the hypothetical.
I'd be sending that to you if you still talk.
Michael,
I see their bottom line is 1.605.
Our bottom line?
No, Brattleboro's in their Brattleboro.
Right, that's what they warned.
That's what they warned. Oh, and so it's going up.
Up to
Yes.
168. That's my whole
Oh,
point.
so ours was 1.686.
6'6". I think
No.
6'6".
Well, he's using that budget, that's the
So-
problem. So ours goes down to 1.66, but
So
our
he's at
warned one
one-
really was 1.66, but
So-
he's using the published budget,
Yeah.
not the warned.
so that's
Okay.
why it's 1.68 then.
That's why he used 1.68, even though we warned 1.66, because we moved the transportation grant in under the cap.
So ours will be 1.66.
If we merge, or if we don't merge, our tax rate would be 1.66.
Michael, would you consider running for this board? You speak very well.
I don't know.
We can't go in without anybody running.
I don't see why not.
Then guess who gets to pick the people? The board.
5 members of the select board.
Is
Oh,
that
it's
what
the
it
5
is?
members of
It
the
was-
select board?
I think so.
I think
is
it's
it?
the board, I think a
don't know.
vacancy is by the board, actually. It's
But
by,
it's a super board.
yeah, so it's by the other members, but yeah, it's interesting in the first one, I don't know.
How could they pick members from our town when they're not even voters?
Well, don't even start.
I'm starting. You want me to do something that I don't want to do, you know?
No, I'm just saying, asking questions of how they could do something that makes no sense legally whatsoever as we're this far along in this process. That's what I wasn't saying don't start about
Yeah.
how this should happen. I was saying don't start about don't get me started
Oh, okay.
about the crazy stuff.
Putney's got 2 good people running. Brattleboro's got at least 2, if not 3 or more, 4 running. Guilford, I know of 1 who's running. And I don't know of anybody who's running from Dummerston, although they said that there was somebody who took out a petition. But they just moved to Dummerston within the year.
People can be intelligent and trained from other places.
No, I know that, but I mean, no history, no
Yeah.
as to what's going on with Act
Right.
46 or any of that stuff, you know.
So somebody took out a petition that just for
It's just your new neighbor. Anyway.
Do you know where the Amana house was?
No.
Yeah,
Do you know where Tom Johnson's house is?
right
No.
across the street.
Dummerston Center. Do you know where Sue lives?
Yeah.
Come down to Tom Johnson's house.
Which my next door neighbor, yeah, across the street.
But
Next
it's
to the
not the big
silo.
farm,
Not the
it's not
big
the
farmhouse.
silo, not the silo. It's kind of
Yes.
back in here.
Okay.
And they have family who lives in Dummerston.
Attend school here?
Anyway, there has been a petition polled. I don't think anything's been put in yet. I pulled one just in case I had a big winner tonight.
It's you.
I think you did, Christina.
I
I
think you
think we have all account.
I told my son I was not, and he said, "Yay! I get my mother back after 4 years." So that's kind of hard to
All the driving means good driving practice time for that, kid with the permit.
I've been trying to
Like
think
you
of who
once-
has kids in school and who are really very interested. Because I don't think the populace really knows. I put it on Front Porch today. It's on Front Porch.
And so I'm putting it on BCTV right now. Petitions are due in April 15th. It was a very short turnaround. You just have to go to the town clerk's office. Fabulous Lori Frechette will give you a ballot. Take out a ballot for the 1 or the 3-year seat. You need 17 signatures from registered voters, and it has to be back in the office by the close of business Monday, the 15th, which is incredibly short turnaround.
what the warning is saying by 5 o'clock on Monday, and our town offices are not open till 5 o'clock, so that may be an issue. I just put their warning in too, so.
Oh, that's problematic.
Okay,
I'll
I
talk
can
to
redo
Lori
that.
and see if she can
See what she's gonna do,
because it's been warned now to get the petitions, and so if somebody shows up at 5 o'clock and doesn't, that's a really big mess. So that's unfortunate.
she may stay open till 5 just because of that.
Yeah.
Do you want me to call her
That would be
tomorrow?
great if you would do that. I
Yeah,
would
let me
appreciate
call
that.
Lori.
Um,
So, you know, I've been trying to figure out who would run. Anybody active in the PTFO that you might think would take out a petition? Any of our food people or any? I mean, if I were a lot younger, I would do it, but I'm not doing it now.
I've tried.
Who?
I'm
Rick
using a lot
Mills,
of applying peer
Oh,
pressure.
no, Rick says no. Rick tapped him last night. Maybe if somebody else talks to me.
He's been talked to. Texted, emailed. I think that harassment policy might be put into play against me.
Is that something that Lori Tebow would do?
Well, if anybody has any thoughts, it
No
would be
idea.
great. It would be great, rather than put out the names on BCTV, it might be better that we all just try to, you know, if you're not gonna do it yourself, your task is to phone three friends, 3 likely suspects, to try to find somebody to run, because that's a lot that's gonna happen in that first year, and hopefully we get a year's reprieve so people can feel like, okay, I'm not going into a really difficult position. Things are more settled.
We don't have any idea of what the legislature's coming up with. I mean, they've already had their first meeting of the conference committee,
Yeah.
which didn't go anywhere, and their second meeting was supposed to be today of the conference committee. We need to have somebody stand up for Dummerston.
So as part of that budget, moving back on to the budget, we need to have someone present to the transitional board Dummerston's budgeting thought process and our values as reflected in our budgeting process. Would that be
Well,
reasonable?
It was also the values with the Articles of Agreement was what it was.
That was later, but that was part of the Articles of Agreement thing, but the first thing was, because we were talking about that values thing around the budgeting and what's really important, like I think Putney, for example, would talk about their food program and what's really, where they have invested in things that they're passionate about and why. You might look at that line item and say like, ah, and they are going to support those values. And so I'm happy to do that explanation for Dummerston at the transitional board meeting. You can do it as well, Jody. It's entirely up to you.
No, I would hope that the rest of the board would look at these. You said this is now online too, this whole packet?
I sent it to all the board
Oh, you
members.
sent it, okay, because it came
I
through.
forwarded it to you, yeah.
Look at it and see if there's anything that jumps out at you. I think it's probably gonna go through just the way it is now
Yeah.
for the first year. I mean,
Yeah.
it's after that that things may get messy.
I think one of the things that's sticky for us is the pre-K, but I think that's a pretty easy explanation because many schools have implemented pre-K, so they know the difficulty of it, and I think I could speak very clearly about our thought process in creating that. And I don't think there's anything else that we're doing that's particularly extravagant isn't a good word, but not in line with what the other schools are doing in terms of, I mean, not that other schools have the pre-K, it's just we don't have the student count in our ADM, so it's that first year problem. Yes.
But our budget, when you look at all the 4 budgets or whatever, our budget's not higher than everybody else's.
No, we're fine, we're fine.
So,
We're fine. I think we're fine. And then the next thing that the last part of the meeting, we talked about an amendment committee, and there's a desire to get amendments into that first annual meeting, which would be voted on by a floor vote. In June 22nd or something.
something, 23rd, 21st, 22nd, I know, I've got it written down somewhere.
All the board members are working, all the transitional board members are working on presenting. We kind of went around the room and said what are the top 2 article amendments that you think your community wants. And here is where I think it really helped. All the forms we did, the surveys, the gabillion things is I could say to Ricky, I'll take school closure and middle school operation for 500, Alex, because like that has been what's shown up. But I passed out to everyone the 2016 town survey results.
Yeah.
Which was teacher stability, which was another thing we talked about, and that's not really in the, it's not in the article, so it's maybe something we want to add. But school closure was by far and away the most important item.
Why are you only allowed that too?
Oh, well, we just, to start with.
Okay.
And they ended up with picking 4 of them for us to discuss, and both Kristina and I realized too late that there was a 5th one that was very important to us. They ended up with this, putting the school closure and middle school closure as one. The grades operated, grades configuration as
Well, that would be
2.
school depletion. And they all.
Leadership councils were very high. And I think if we get a leadership council, Sean wants to use the 706B study committee's wording on leadership councils, which I think we can start with, but we need to make them more teeth. And representative, Brattleboro really wants to change the representatives on the board. And then Kristina and I thought late, oh my God, we need a divorce clause. So I think we all need to, and there were others.
Yeah.
There were others here, assignment of staff, debt and funds, hiring committee makeup, boundaries,
That's a lot.
you know,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
There's a lot of important ones.
And they can be changed throughout the process, but I think right now the transition board should really look at these and make some changes right off the bat.
I am very interested in getting some of these major ones done now
Yeah.
that are doable, because Kim's on that board, Ricky's on that board, I'm on that board. It's kind of like when you start over talking about representation, it's like, okay, you know, there's kind of like, can we make the representation whatever we want? And Kim and Ricky and I are just like, okay, here is, you know, 1 person, 1 vote, 101. And so we have people that are experienced at what you can and can't do. And we can, and the various things that we've talked about. And so I'd just like to get it done so that the first board, when they're trying to figure out the budget and all these new policies, if this comes to pass, that they're not going to do this. This is going to be the thing that doesn't get done in reality. I know how it is. If it's not on fire, it's not going to get done. And so we've all been working together, and you have a lot of connection to your community right now because you have 5 board members from each community. When you're down to 2 board members from each community that are supposed to reach back to the community and remember what happened, some of whom may be new board members, they're not going to know how to negotiate on behalf of their community like this board is now. And that is the loss of having 2 members that we've talked about ad nauseum for 4 years.
Well, we're not even supposed to be representing Dummerston. Everybody's supposed to represent everybody.
Which is great, but if you don't live in the town, people don't have the same access. I mean, it's just like I can't go grocery shopping because everybody knows who I am and I live here and I'm in the school and.
So we've got, in 2 weeks, we've got another meeting.
Right.
So we have to come back with the budget questions or anything like that. And we have to come back with pretty much written articles on what we're interested in.
Yep.
At least just jump off with.
Yep.
So, you know, I mean, we can all write them ourselves and put them together. We have to call a meeting if we all met together.
I don't know. Well, you're going to be away, right?
Yeah. When are you going to be away?
No,
Or on TV.
on camera.
I don't want to say on TV.
In July?
So,
No.
Yes, in July she may be away at some point.
I might be too.
Perhaps you and I could do a little subcommittee and come up with something and send it out for comment, and we could then meet, like we could take a first pass at it and then we could schedule a meeting right after vacation maybe.
Well, are there any of these, are you all in favor of these 4 things? Are you, if there's,
Well,
is
could
there?
you combine, you could almost combine closure of middle school and something about the other grades as school depletion.
Or school closure, middle school, grade stop configuration?
Grades to up, yeah,
Yeah.
that configuration could be all
Yeah.
combined
Yeah.
to a depletion, and then then you can add the divorce clause.
Yes. What are you, what's your feelings about the representations? I think Kristina and I differ on this, but a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard to know if, you know, I am not philosophically opposed to giving Brattleboro another at-large representative. I mean, I'm not philosophically opposed to anything at this point, frankly, and I'm open to any suggestions that make it work. However, given that other schools have testified that the best thing that we could do is close our middle school, if there's 3 in Brattleboro and 2 in another small town that has that feeling, that's the majority of the board, so the board is going to recommend the closure. So then we'd have to make sure that what we give up is airtight to maintain something that we really want for our school.
And Lyle was gonna look into different
Possibilities.
possibilities,
Yeah.
because as far as we know, there's only the 2. There's the proportional, and which everybody votes on their own people, but Brattleboro gets a bigger cut, or there's this one with 2, 2, 2, 2. I don't know whether you could make 2, 2, 2, and 3.
I asked that question directly, so hopefully, I don't see why, you know, at large, it seems like you can kind of do whatever you want because it's
Well,
at large.
You know, I've been told by lawyers that we can do what we want anyway in here, and actually, Lyle was talking to Donna Russo Savage, and it seemed like she was getting the advice that we could do it, we could make a lot of changes if we wanted to. But they have to be, if we make changes, it has to go in front of the public for a vote. If we just take the default articles, we don't have to put it before the public. If we make changes, we should probably pass them off, get a legal opinion on it too.
Yeah, we talked about that at the board meeting and maybe trying, you know, to ask for a couple of opinions and hopefully get one that's more supportive of our pathway as opposed to just saying no, which is a lot of what we heard.
We
I'm
threw
not
out
sure
a
if
couple
that-
new names because the administration is, unfortunately, the administration is dealing with AOE and BOE people, and I want to deal with somebody who's not part of that push, somebody different. And so we threw out a couple of names. And you might have some ideas.
So if y'all have any thoughts, why don't you send them independently to us? We'll work, you and I will work on our little subcommittee and come up with some wording that we like, and then maybe I will try to, when's our next, oh, it's here.
Yeah, it's here. We told Joe Carroll it's here yet?
I did.
Oh, good.
Well, I kind of asked her, but, I mean, I think it's gonna be here.
It is.
I think Joe Carroll said it's okay.
Do I have to do anything for them?
No, you don't even have to be here.
So, okay, no catering then?
No catering.
No.
No. Makes the
Unless you want to
meetings-
make something
Make
special
some
for us.
meetings
Yeah.
go longer. Okay, so.
What day of the week is that?
That's that,
Wednesday?
that's a Wednesday, so, Tuesday
What?
doesn't give us any time. Monday after vacation?
Yeah, it's the 24th, 6 o'clock
It's gonna
here.
be a great week.
Is that vacation week?
That's the Monday after, that's the,
When is vacation?
next week.
Next week.
15th, 16th?
Yep.
So, I'm sorry, why, it's clearly after 8 o'clock. How can we schedule something? Because we have to do it in an open meeting if we're gonna discuss what we're gonna bring forward, and I would really like to get the full board input. And so, we could maybe do it before vacation. Are you available to meet tomorrow night, Jody?
Are you saying that you and I are going to have something to present tomorrow night?
No, you and I would meet tomorrow night, and then we could maybe meet on Thursday night?
I'm fine tomorrow night. I'm fine. My husband will say another night I gotta walk the dog, but I'm fine.
Anybody make a short meeting on Thursday? Just a little work session? No?
Maybe.
You're bowling me over with your enthusiasm, people. Well, okay, I don't have, I'm
Do you
only
really
here
think you're gonna get it done in a
Well, have something to present and say, this
Okay.
is what we're thinking. I do think we'll have a working draft that we could sit down with
Okay.
and like looking at a half an hour to say, what about this, what about that? And then we can at least go back and at least get board input before that Wednesday.
Can we just send it out to them, but we can't get an answer from everybody without
Right,
being
that's-
together, but we could send it out, could they answer individually? No, they can't probably answer individually.
You're not supposed to do that.
I don't think
Okay.
you have time to warn a meeting for Thursday.
For Thursday, you can do a special an emergency meeting or something.
24 hours, is it?
Yeah. Sure. let's
Or
give
we
it a
can
try.
wait until that Tuesday meeting, you and I can meet and send it out. How about we meet, we send something out? No, that's not gonna work, because then it's too late to warn the meeting. How about I warn the meeting? We meet, we send it out. If people are happy with it, or if people have ideas, then the meeting will happen. Otherwise, I will cancel the meeting on Thursday.
Whatever.
I love it when a plan comes together.
But I'm confused, but that's all right. I'll
Or
get
we could do it the
unconfused.
Monday after vacation.
Monday after vacation,
The 20.
wouldn't give a lot of time. Well,
I know.
if you and I do something, it's going to be done with the survey in mind and the community in mind and even the board members
We'll even
in
take
mind.
them into account.
So they may just want to change some wordings, but we're just taking it back to the transition board and they may change it anyway.
Right, that's a good point.
So I would think maybe that Monday after vacation,
Would be fine.
that everybody would have a chance to read what we have sent and be ready to make comments.
All right, I'll warn it for that Monday.
That Monday?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure I'm available. It's Earth Day and Easter Monday, okay. I don't have anything on my calendar. But we have a meeting the 23rd.
I know, but then we could bring any changes back to that meeting.
Okay, then the transition is the 24th.
I
Oh my
know,
God.
that's why I was not excited to do it.
That's why
then.
last week was so bad, 2 meetings a night.
Great, so, and, there's also future agenda meetings. We have that pre-K invitational next meeting.
At the
23rd.
Okay, and that's gone out, it just hit me. All right. Any other transitional thoughts, questions? Who knows, maybe we'll get a reprieve. Well, we won't. Well, maybe we'll get a reprieve and that's why we need to plan it. When you're well planned, the world gives you great gifts, I will
Oh,
discover.
good. I'll go with that mantra.
So right, planning for the new
We have
Pencil
Julie.
Welcome event.
Welcome.
Welcome. Oh, that's one of our things. What night is that? The 25th.
Is it really?
Is it?
Are you
It's the
kidding?
25th.
The 25th, that's the 4th night that week, right? That's all right.
It's good. It's great.
This will be a fun thing.
This will be a good thing.
That'd be a great fun. We have to get the word out to everybody, so.
Yeah, so how,
This Thursday, okay.
that's Thursday. I was thinking it was Wednesday when we had another meeting, so I was trying to remember the calendar off the top of my head. So, it's not a surprise party
Right.
at this point. So
That's what you get for coming here.
what would your vision be, future principal league?
That's a good question. I would envision, well, I'd be interested to hear what you all think, but, I don't know. I mean, part could be, obviously, I think just some time for casual mingling, you know? Just a little, time to meet people where it's not just me talking at them.
I love that idea.
Yeah, so, but I could also there could be a portion that is just me introducing myself, you know,
That's a good
to the,
idea.
They also
to
kind of-
the big
Yeah.
group.
Kristina would introduce you first.
Or Lyle,
Yeah.
one of us.
Yeah.
Or both of us.
Yeah.
Give you a bigger, you know, build up, you
Right.
know, you got your starter, but you know, your warm up bands. I like the idea of a mingling, that people have an opportunity to come up and talk to you.
But maybe you should introduce and you should say a little bit about yourself,
Yep.
and then, so that people know that you're the one they want to mingle with.
Yes, right, right.
It's almost like we wish we had done, I wonder if we should do it in conjunction with something else, like what is there, like, you know, but.
Well, arts night is tomorrow.
I know.
That's too late.
I know, I kind of feel like that might have been an interesting time to do it, because then people, it's kind of a mingly event anyway.
Do you do a little blurb at our side? I can't remember. Do you?
They do some performing.
Oh.
It's gotten to be more filled.
Did we announce that it was the 25th, or can we pull you in tomorrow night? Is it too?
We didn't announce that it was the 23rd. I mean, I didn't announce
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Nobody has announced.
Nobody's announced.
I'm thinking,
Are you
Yes.
available tomorrow night?
Doesn't give her much time.
what about May 9th is the vocal spring concert?
Oh, but that's not really a mingling time.
No, it's not.
No.
Coordination with something else.
That way people are mingling and, you know,
This
I feel like it would
maybe
be sort of usurping
Yeah.
arts night.
Arts
from-
night,
Yeah,
at this point to
yeah, yeah.
put that in.
Yeah.
Let's keep it the same.
All right, let's keep it the same.
But let's get the word out.
What time?
I can do it on front porch.
I think that's a great idea. Thank you, Jody. We're
We're gonna
looking
get
at 6 o'clock. Is that what we had said?
The 25th.
I have 6, but
That's what I had 6
You have
too.
6 too?
Yep, I have 6 too. 6 as well.
Just to come meet Dummerston's new principal
Yeah,
at 6 o'clock. Here, there, where?
in the gym library. What does anybody think? I could spin a wheel. I could
The
just set that up.
library.
Library. I think the library's better
Yeah.
for that. Yeah.
I suppose if we get gobs and gobs and gobs of people, we can move it to the gym.
What about making it 6:30 and like I'll pick up some, you know, cookie tray or something, so then it's like dessert and like,
6:30?
what do you think about that? And then like we're gonna like there's get a welcome cake or something, you know. Keep meaning to send a baseball themed cake over to the select board so I can order 2 at Hannaford.
I mean, I could bring
Because they
some
bought the fields
cider.
finally.
Oh, that's
What about
Like,
doing
thank you for buying our fields.
It's like a Tuesday before a board meeting. Like have you start here at 2 o'clock, go around meeting the kids, introducing yourself to the kids, and then sort of like a mini open house from 2 to 6 where people wanted to
it's
come,
done by.
or from, you know, dismissal to 6 o'clock.
That's
If you
actually.
want to start
I love that
Bye.
It's a
idea.
nice idea. Yeah.
versus,
I was gonna say, you just wanna get it long enough so people who are working can get here through after.
right, and then the school board meeting would happen shortly after, so, you know, if the influx of people come at 6,
Right.
we could, you know, the meeting could start at 6:45. But
That would be the 23rd,
it
right?
would, yeah, it would sort of give you a reason to.
Oh, that's
be
the
We
here.
can't do that, that's
That's the
pre-K
pre-K
night.
meeting.
Right, I think you should do it in May.
May 9th?
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
May
And I think
9th?
that's the real purpose is to just have an opportunity to have a personal connection. That's the.
May
that's the
9th
whole-
isn't a school board meeting.
Well, whatever the second,
The 7th
the 7th.
is the first Tuesday.
No, we're the second
Oh, second Tuesday's the 14th.
That one.
Yep, at least that's what my calendar says.
Right.
Does that work for you, your
I think
schedule?
so.
So we can-
I don't have the
Then you could do it when you could.
concert that night.
I don't know. Oh, the pop, there's like that
Yeah.
pops thing or.
On the 14th?
I I don't know. I don't have that. That's the only calendar I don't have open right now, but. I can look at that
How
tomorrow.
many calendars you got?
Where
Well-
did I find that?
I know.
Where did I find that?
Yeah, you keep talking.
You know, even May 28th,
I think we may want to schedule other kinds of events later in the year.
even May 28th.
School board funeral.
I probably won't be here May 28th, but that's okay. I know her.
Let's just see.
Concert. That's not gonna work. So, that's ringing a bell with me.
Well, if you have a concert that night, what about having the first and fourth meeting in May as the school board meeting?
Doesn't look, it looks open on the 14th looks open on the UHS music department
Okay.
calendar, so,
So why don't you and I figure out if it's the 14th,
yeah.
or we could just do it on some other random day. Doesn't have to be during a board meeting.
I think a Tuesday would really have a nice
Yeah.
flow from
Yeah,
being at school, coming to a staff meeting, having an
Yeah.
open house and having a
Mhm.
board meeting.
okay.
So even if you change the board meeting to a different day, it would be nice to have a way to have an ending to it.
Right, I see what you're saying. Yes, I like that idea.
You said the 14th would work?
So we're penciling in the
so,
14th,
yeah.
and if we hear that,
I should be here the 14th.
so can that land in the newsletter in the next
Yep. Yep.
couple go-rounds
Let me
and
know
front
so I
porch?
can do it on the front porch.
So I'll check when I get home. I can text my daughter.
That seems
You still awake over there?
to be like this. I'm gonna just put on my calendar for like 6 and then show up a little early.
Right.
And if you can come.
Yeah, I can
Yes.
bring cider or something like that. If it's done in a day, I'm here.
All right. All right.
But we said 6:30, but it wouldn't be 6:30. It would
Be more like 6.
Right.
6 for,
The meeting
Or
would,
earlier.
I'd warn the meeting for 6 o'clock, even though we wouldn't start the meeting till 6:30 in case somebody says something business, school board wise, that I've warned the quorum.
But just let me know the date and when you think she's going to be here for an open house, so.
And I'll put it out as, you know, an open house for 2 to
Yeah,
2 to.
okay.
Well, that's a long open house, 2 to 6.
Did, yes, yeah.
Sleep tight before you.
Yeah, I know.
Or maybe it's 4 to 6. Just because
Yeah.
I'll be here. We'll
Sure.
have you.
Or people want to come in at dismissal.
Yeah, maybe somebody.
Yeah,
would-
then
Right,
Yeah.
yes, then I'll just
Yeah.
be here and they
Yeah.
can pop
3
in.
3 to 6?
Yeah,
There's a lot of parents that come at dismissal time, so
Right.
that, especially of
Yeah.
younger kids, it would, are probably extremely interested. All right, so do not believe that we are going to have any votes for any executive sessions that we,
I don't even know what the executive sessions are for, so I can't.
yeah, we may have, so here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to, we'll have our first executive session, which there may be action will come out of that executive session. And then, we have another executive session, which there will not be action after. So I would accept a motion to move into executive session under 1 VSA 313 for the purposes of discussing an employee contract.
I move.
Second.
Who seconded that?
Michael beat me to it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Okay.
Ayes have it. So we will move into executive session at 8:39. We've risen from executive session at 9:54.
8.
8:54, thank God, yeah. Oh, sorry, 8:54. And that was the longest executive session ever. At 8:54, and then I would entertain a motion to move into executive session under 1 VSA 313 to discuss what am I looking for? Let me get my policies. Actually, it's a contractual issue. Do I have,
Also moved.
thank you, Jody.
Second.
So we will move into executive session at 8:55, and then there will be no action after this executive session. So thank you very much, BCTV.
Thanks.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Did you?
You make me want to go to Mexico.